Hey Goodman, game changer here. So you probably saw earlier I was just having a bit of a dummy run with a attack. I mean, obviously I've got a very weak attack on this old account here, so obviously it's not really going to cause you any problems. But you can see that from this side here, if I drop a tank and distract that machine gun, I can pretty much hit your war factory and your barracks without really sort of getting picked up by the peacemaker. So you need to be fairly careful from that. I mean, in hindsight, you'd probably come from this side here and obviously take out the war factory, certainly with HIMARS and things along that sort of line. So first things I want you to have a little look at is to make your base less organised. A very organised base like this looks nice, but it's also very easy to work out what's happening with everything because you can see it. It's quite pretty, it's quite organised, it's quite structured, and really you want to be looking at something a little bit more randomised so people can't quite work out what's going on. In terms of randomisation, you see how you've got a peacemaker there, but you've got a peacemaker here, and they're slightly not in line with each other. That's kind of what I mean by the random. Whereas if you look at these two machine guns here, I know that because they're in line, I can come in from an angle and I know which one's going to hit me and which one's not. But what I'm surprised that you've done, you and I know that when we play the events, in order to take out a turret that we can't quite outrange, what we do is we hit the wall in front of it. If I destroy the wall, it destroys the turret. Yet every single one of your turrets and transformers is against a wall. Now, I know you've got mines there, but obviously I'm going to shoot you from here. I'm obviously going to use a distance attack. You know, everybody will nowadays. Now, if you look at that turret, that's touching a wall. If you look at that turret, it's touching a wall. If you look at those two there, as we've mentioned, all touching a wall. Now, in fact, here, you've actually got, if I take out that heavy platform, this explosion from that will likely damage that turret. If I look at any of these turrets here, they're all touching, everything's touching. If I take out the barracks, the likelihood it'll damage that turret. Because everything's touching, what's going to happen is you'll have a chain reaction. So when I take one thing out, it's going to damage another thing. And that obviously makes it very, very easy to take the base out, especially now you're facing things that have explosive damage. So previously in CC6, you wouldn't have seen anything that's got an explosive sort of extra damage to it. They call it splash damage. Whereas here, in our level, you know, certainly if I hit that wall here, then that will automatically destroy that turret pretty much, you can guarantee it. So have a little think about that as well. Now, I would say at our level as well, we're not really going to be attacked by infantry per se, so I'd probably obviously look to make sure that that was a anti-vehicle mine. Now, if you look at that peacemaker there, that does give you a bit of a blind spot. So from this zone here where it says Game Changer Base, I can probably come over the top and hit that war factory, or more likely, maybe from where it says Scouting, I'll come across here and I'll be able to hit that war factory, and I very much doubt that the Peacemaker would pick me up. Certainly with the range that I've got, it's likely that I could probably take out that war factory. But the fact that you've got the war factory and the barracks together would suggest that something with an F-35 type attack, you probably could take all three of those buildings out in one fell swoop. So that would be your airfield gone, your war factory gone, and your barracks gone. You know, pretty much possibly on one pretty strong airstrike. So you need to maybe have a little bit of a think about that for us if you could. In terms of air defence, what have you got? You've got one SAM. That's pretty much it, and the rest is machine guns. You know, so maybe you need a little bit more sort of air defence. I would probably have a look at that. I'd also be moving these two bases apart, so that obviously you can't hit two at the same time. And I'd also be trying to randomise where things are as well. So there's nothing wrong with perhaps hiding a turret behind. Kind of what you're trying to do there, you're trying to hide it behind the smoke and things along that sort of line. But if you have a little look, it's quite easy to spot it. So you maybe need to have a little bit of think about that sort of method. I mean, you're probably better to have had, say, for example, that command center where the power plant is, and then obviously that would hide, the turret better. So things that are higher obviously make it a little bit more interesting as well. Now, the fact that you've got two mines close together there, you can see the ring of that mine and what kind of range it's got. So really you want to be moving the other mine so that it's got at least outside that ring. I mean, the fact you've got overlap there, I mean, one mine will do the job of those two. So you can maybe space your mines out a little bit better. You've got the same effect there as well as now I'd be trying to get the mines to be. So if you look, for example, if I forced you to spawn here, then if I put a mine somewhere in between where it says buffs now, for example, then you'd find that that's cutting off this pass between the two rocks. To get in between the two rocks, I'd probably have to go over the mine. So it's things along that sort of line. If you look, there's a rock there and a rock here, so you can maybe have a mine somewhere in the middle of there, for example. You've got so look just here, for example. As it is, you've allowed that spawn zone there. You maybe think people would take it and then they're going to get hit by various sort of things, but ultimately I'd probably have a mine between that rock and say that rock, so obviously it cuts that sort of point there, and it's just things along that sort of line. So if you're forcing somebody to spawn here, you could have a mine somewhere between that rock and that rock, so again it cuts that sort of area off. So you can kind of make things a little bit more difficult for them. So my feedback is you need to spread out your main buildings. You don't need to have any sort of turret against a wall because it'll get knocked over for 6. And also you need to maybe have a little bit of think about the coverage of the peacemaker. So if perhaps you put the peacemaker where the barracks is and the barracks where the peacemaker, not only would that separate your barracks from your war factory, but your peacemaker would have perhaps more coverage than it does now. So it's little tips like that. So start having a little bit of think about what the enemy's going to see. Certainly close up these spawn zones and things like that. Make the buildings a bit more spread out and less pretty and less organised and less structured. I mean, literally you've got a straight line right the way across there. Now when I'm in attack, that means I can kind of gauge myself by your base. I can kind of gauge where things are. I can gauge the sort of limits of your turrets and things along that sort of line far easier. Whereas if you randomise things, it's a little bit too busy on the eye for them to be able to pick up everything, and then they're more likely to miss that you've placed a turret there, or miss that you've got a turret in the smoke and things along that sort of line. But as is it now, because it's nice looking, it does make it a little bit easier to knock over. Possibly not in the past, but remember you're CC7 now. If you're level 50, that means you could be hit by a level 60 and be able to take your money off you. Whereas previously, obviously, if you were level 50, you're probably coming against 40s and 45s and things like that, like me now, and you'll defend well against them. But you've stepped up to the big league now, bro. All right, take care.